News Special, the U.S. Senate debate. Tonight's moderator is KRQE News 13 anchor Dick Niffing.
Hello and welcome to the KRQE News 13 U.S. Senate debate between Democrat Martin Heinrich and Republican Heather Wilson. The format tonight will not be the traditional news conference style debate in which the candidates have limited time for answers, responses, and interaction. The format of this debate will be more open-ended. We will ask questions aimed at underlining the differences between the candidates. We'll give them the time that they feel they need to answer, to respond, and rebut. We'll move on to the next topic only after they both feel they have made themselves clear. Heather Wilson and Martin Heinrich are intelligent people with very different positions on key issues, and we want to give them room to maneuver, to not just answer, but to explain, to challenge, and defend. And we hope this will give you a better understanding of their positions and perhaps a sense of who they are. There will not be opening statements, but each candidate will have a minute and a half at the end for closing statements. The order of that has been decided by a coin toss, and a separate coin toss has decided who will respond to the first question, and that is Heather Wilson. And the question is, there is one overriding issue in this campaign, obviously, our continuing economic problems. What are the differences between you two on how to fix those problems?
Dick, I've got two kids at home, two teenagers. One who's about to go off to college and the other one who's still the queen of her universe in high school. And I worry about them and what the jobs are going to be there for them when they finish school. There is nothing more important in New Mexico today than getting back to strong economic growth and job creation. First and foremost, that means keeping taxes low and simplifying our tax code. I think we need to extend all of the tax relief that's in place and spend a year taking out a lot of these special provisions and deductions, lowering the rates and broadening the base. I also think we need regulatory reform and a moratorium on job-killing regulations. We need an all-of-the-above energy strategy that increases American energy, because American energy is the fastest way to American jobs, and we need a strong national defense. We are about to lose 20,000 jobs in this state next year because of the across-the-board defense cuts that Congressman Heinrich voted in favor of, and that would be devastating for our New Mexico economy.
Mr. Heinrich?
Well, I agree with my opponent that the issue is jobs and it is the economy. And I think the fundamental differences between how we approach the economy are very much what this whole race is about. I believe that we're strongest. We're strongest as a nation when we grow from the middle class out. When middle class families are thriving and able to save, able to spend, whether it's on a new car or just a new microwave, the entire economy benefits as a result. And if you look at our history, we've always been strongest when the middle class was doing well. My opponent's approach is very different. My opponent's approach is to deregulate Wall Street, hand out bailouts to Wall Street, and to pass tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans. Frankly, with the recovery of Wall Street, the wealthiest Americans are doing just fine right now. The people who really need help right now are the middle class. And I think we need to focus on concrete things that will put them back in the driver's seat and make sure that they have a strong economic future in this country.
Congressman, we have had over the last 4 years a $4,000 decline in the average household income in this state. We've lost 30,000 jobs. The price of groceries is up, the price of gas is up, the cost of a college education is through the roof, and you're trying to help the middle class? I mean, quit helping. What you're doing isn't working. You've raised taxes on small business, voted for higher taxes 22 times. And you talk about, what we do with respect to taxes. I favor keeping taxes low, particularly on the small businesses that are the engines of economic growth in America. And you want to raise taxes on small business. Actually,
I'd like to lower taxes on small business. And let's take a step back and just remember how we got into this recession in the first place. Congresswoman Wilson inherited a balanced budget, went to Washington, voted for Graham Leach, voted to deregulate Wall Street. Wall Street did not treat that deregulation very responsibly. We got into a housing crisis. When I took office, we were losing 750,000 jobs a month before we stepped in and made sure there was some oversight over Wall Street again. I have consistently fought for lower taxes for small businesses. And it's important to remember, even the stimulus bill was 40% tax cuts on small businesses. In fact, one of the best tax cuts was a tax cut that allowed small businesses to expense their capital expenses. So I think the record speaks for itself. If we go back to those same trickle-down economic theories, more tax cuts for the wealthy, more deregulation of Wall Street, I think we'll be right back in the mess that created this deficit in the first place. We've got a long way to go, but we've come now 30 straight months of positive job growth. That's a whole lot better than the 750,000 jobs a month that we were losing at the end of Congressman Wilson's term.
Congressman, in the 10 years that I was in the House, we grew 100,000 jobs here in the state of New Mexico. There are 30,000 fewer jobs today than when you took office. I don't know how you explain that, but that's not going in the right direction. This is the slowest recovery we have had in 60 years. Raising taxes, expanding government control, over-regulation of small business, and you want to raise taxes on small business on the 1st of January. Half of the tax returns in those two upper brackets are small businesses. One of them you may recognize. Bill Miera, he started Fiore Industries. He gave you your first job out of college. And I talked to him, and he says he doesn't think you understand what these tax increases are going to do to him.
When Congresswoman Wilson first went to office, she inherited a balanced budget. The changes that happened since then, the reductions in taxes for upper level earners, were a big part of how we got into the deficit that we're in today. She voted to get rid of the rules, the pay-as-you-go rules. That opened the door to all kinds of changes. 2 rounds of Bush tax cuts primarily focused on the highest wage earners, 2 wars completely unpaid for, both on a credit card, a new prescription drug plan. It's a great plan, but it was all financed on a credit card. Now looking forward, how do we fix that? There are a lot of different viewpoints. The Ryan budget plan is actually one of the things that she cites as me trying to raise taxes. I voted against the Ryan budget plan because it would have devastated New Mexico. 17% cut at Los Alamos National Laboratories, an 11% cut at Sandia National Laboratories. I'm not going to apologize for fighting the Ryan budget. We could have used Congresswoman Wilson's help when she was silent about the Ryan budget, said she admired the Ryan budget for a year.
That's incorrect, and you know it's incorrect. I admire Paul Ryan and his willingness to put forward bold ideas with respect to how to solve some of the big problems in this country. I think it's sad that Washington has gotten to such a state that you can't even say that you admire someone that you disagree with without a politician twisting your words.
Well, I think
with respect to the labs, I think you need to go back and take a look, because I did look today, and the Ryan budget actually protects the nuclear weapons budget. You may want to ask your folks to look at those line items, because there is no cut
when the Ryan
in the
budget was first rolled out. They didn't even realize that NNSA and the nuclear deterrent was in the Department of Energy, and that's why they proposed enormous cuts to Sandia and Los Alamos.
Check page 51.
And if you check on the cut, cap, and balance plan that Congresswoman Wilson has endorsed, I mean, this makes the Ryan budget look like Christmas in July. The cut, cap, and balance plan is basically the Tea Party blueprint for how to balance the budget with no revenues. I've taken a balanced approach that calls for cuts and revenues, which will be much kinder to New Mexico in the long run.
Let me ask a question specifically about creating jobs. What can a U.S. Senator do to create jobs? We hear this all the time, I'll create jobs, I'll create jobs, I'll create jobs. How can you do that?
You create the atmosphere where the middle class thrives and where small business thrives. So we can do things like leveling the playing field. Today, most small businesses pay far too much in taxes. Most big corporations pay far too little. We can level that playing field. We can invest in infrastructure, and that infrastructure gets used by the private sector in ways that the government never even dreamed of. And we can invest in doing technology commercialization from our public institutions, our universities, our science and tech parks, our labs, in a much more aggressive and effective way.
I think the thing we need to start out with, and it's something that Congressman Heinrich and I just disagree on, is that government cannot create wealth. it can create the conditions for small businesses and entrepreneurs to invest and create jobs. And that means low taxes and fair, predictable regulations, which is exactly the opposite of the way you've been taking this country in the last 4 years. Let's talk again about Fiore Industries. The tax increase that you want to have take place on the 1st of January, the thing you're holding all of the rest of New Mexico hostage on, for all of the tax relief, you want to raise taxes on people in the upper 2 brackets. Half of those tax returns are small businesses that pay at the individual rate.
That's not
like
actually
Bill Miera.
correct. Only 97% of small businesses would not be impacted by the changes in the upper rates. And we're only talking about going back to the rates that existed when President Clinton was in office and we actually had a balanced budget. I think it's ridiculous that we have people like Mitt Romney who make millions and millions a year paying 13 or 14% in income taxes when you're asking small businesses, you're asking teachers and firefighters, all to pay far more than that. All I'm saying is that we need to take a balanced approach, and if you only accept cuts, if you endorse the cut, cap, and balance plan, AARP, the Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, all these organizations that have looked at that proposal have said it would require deep cuts to Social Security and Medicare. That's not good for the middle class.
Congressman, you have gotten an F rating from every small business organization in this country that rates the Congress in every single year you've been there. And it's because you don't seem to understand where jobs come from. Guys like Bill at Fiore Industries were able to give you your first job out of college. What about your kids and my kids? Where are they going to go? Because Bill says that he's going to have to lay somebody off if you're successful in raising his taxes on the 1st of January, and then it gets even worse.
The tax raise only applies to people who pay themselves out more than $250,000 per year.
No, it does not.
So it's a little
You don't understand the way the taxes work.
Let her finish and then go ahead.
His company pays the taxes at the individual rate. Bill leaves the money in the company to invest in the next job. If you raise his taxes, he has less money to pay his people or invest in the next job. But you don't seem to understand how that works. And Bill said that. He said he doesn't think you understand it.
Let him respond to that.
Once again, we're talking about fairness here. And moving forward, how do we bring down the debt? We cannot do it in a vacuum. We can't do it with only cuts. We need a balanced approach that asks the people doing the very best, the people making $250,000 a year, to go back to the very same tax rates that they were thriving under in the late 90s. In addition, it is absolutely ridiculous to think that you can have something like the Ryan budget that is going to have such a deep impact on New Mexico and call that a tax increase. My vote against the Ryan budget is something I'm very proud of. I have to ask, would Heather have voted for it if she's criticizing me in a commercial for voting for the Ryan budget?
Let me continue it, but in a slightly different emphasis. If there's a balanced approach to dealing with the deficit, what programs should be cut?
Well, let's start out with the Health Care Act, which should be repealed and replaced. It took $700 billion out of Medicare, increased taxes, increased the cost of our health care, and the overall cost of the program is $1 trillion. There are a whole lot of other individual programs. I mean, the Department of Homeland Security spends like $130 million on interstate bus service. I think that the approach to get back to a balanced budget is to control spending to less than the growth of the economy. It's to have policies that encourage economic growth. That means predictable regulations and energy policy and taxation that keeps taxes low. And it's a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. Congressman Heinrich voted against a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, and the pay-go rules that he cites are a gimmick that he voted 11 times to waive in his first 19 months of Congress.
The pay-go rules actually balanced our budget.
What are
they
those?
worked. They were what the Republican Congress and the Democratic president in the 1990s put in place to get us back on track, and they worked. And they simply said, if you have a new program, well, you got to pay for it. If you have a new tax cut, you got to pay for it. And once those were gone, Congresswoman Wilson passed 2 rounds of Bush tax cuts, both unpaid for, a brand new prescription drug program that blew open the deficit, a great program, but completely unpaid for. The cuts that I would make would be to get rid of things that we don't need anymore. Take the tax benefits that actually encourage that corporations can take advantage of when they move operations overseas. Those kinds of tax benefits should not exist. End of story. Subsidies for the biggest oil corporations. These are multinational corporations, not little independents in the Permian Basin or the San Juan Basin. They made over $100 billion a year, last year in profits. They don't need several billion dollars in subsidies from our government. So there are plenty of places to cut out there. But cutting isn't going to get it done if we don't also have some revenues and go back to a sense of fairness where somebody like Mitt Romney is paying 13 or 14%, and a lot of middle-class families are paying dramatically more than that.
You're going to do great on the filibuster in the Senate. With respect to 2001 and 2003 tax relief, that tax relief spurred economic growth and created 4.4 million new jobs in the 18 months after that. And even more than that, because more people were working, more tax revenue came into the government, and we actually reduced the projected deficit by $102 billion. That's what I mean about tax policy that's pro-growth. With respect to the pay-go rules, you're actually wrong historically, and everyone in this state knows it. What got us back to a balanced budget was a guy named Senator Pete Domenici, who was able to pass a Balanced Budget Act. The pay-go rules are a gimmick that's routinely waived, and you voted to waive them when you passed a $1 trillion health care bill. You have voted for budgets with $1 trillion deficits every single year you've been in Congress, and this is unsustainable. $50,000 per person in debt. And we just can't sustain this.
But we got that deficit because of decisions
that
I
want to talk about
the credit card.
I want to talk about the deficit, but we're almost out of time in this segment. I want to do the deficit next. 30 seconds each before we go to the break. Where do you want to go as we wrap up the economy here now?
Well, let's go back to what's most important. We do well as a country when we invest in the middle class. And when middle class families can save for college or spend extra money, the entire economy does well. That's where we should be focusing our relief right now. Tax cuts for the middle class, not tax cuts for people who make millions of dollars a year. I'm going to focus on those things that matter most to the middle class, on protecting Social Security and Medicare, on keeping our promises to our veterans, and on making college more affordable.
The middle class has been suffering under the policies that you have supported in the United States Congress for the last 4 years. We have $4,000 less in our average household income, groceries are up, gasoline is up, and 30,000 fewer jobs. You need to quit helping because you're not helping the middle class, and we've got to get back to economic growth.
All right, we'll be back with more after this.